Well, hello and welcome to Yellow Flag FPL, the podcast where all of our opinions should be yellow flagged. My name is Harry.
And I'm Stephen Berry.
And on this week's pod, we are recording midway through Man United currently losing 2-0 against Grimsby. So if there are some yelps, some shocks, that might be because Stephen's watching it to his right, I believe. But that is very funny.
No, it's... Oh, no, gives a penalty, maybe? No, but either way, they're not doing well, man. You genuinely deserve to be 2-0 down. Genuinely deserve it.
Right, so we can consider you like the reporter on the ground.
Yeah.
Is it Bradford Park? Is that the name of the stadium? I can't remember. But to quote our dear friend Lee, it's a bit smelly there. So anyway, on this week's show, we're going to go through our team games that we've picked out, talk about our good, middling and rogue shouts of the week. We've got one more game week before the international break. I paid my bench boost this week, which we can talk a little bit about. But Stephen, why don't you tell us first, how did you do this week, game week 2?
It was going so well. I mean, it started off badly. Obviously, the Palmer injury, that haul that could have been, you would have thought you got at least one of those goals against a very, very bad West Ham side. It then really recovered. I was very lucky that I sort of got made up with the fact that I had a Tottenham defender first on my bench, Van de Ven, who obviously got 6 points. I bottled. I let a few people get in my head around Gokares. I bottled captaining him, went for Haaland. But nevertheless, I was 40% over the average, and then Ekatike and Gakpo, who I don't have, and Salah, ruined everything at the death, unfortunately. So I finished 2 points below the average. Again, it's not the best start, but it's not the worst start either. So I'm still relatively content. How about you?
Yeah, no, it's decent. Yeah, so I, as I said, bench boost. Palmer being injured first up was a bit of a kick in the teeth. I did do a late substitution of Milan to Reindeers. We can talk about that game. Come on, the mighty Tottenham. Yes, the boys. Anyway, Nottingham Forest being poor, that was really annoying. The Brighton-Everton game I thought was interesting for a lot of reasons, but Brighton could have been ahead in early doors, but then sort of let the stadium kind of take over. Evan Nilsson could have scored, but he got scythed down by the Wolves defender when he was through and on goal. Captain Watkins, disappointing. 62 points is not too bad when the average was 51. So I'm up to... Where am I? 2 millionth in the world. But given the fact that we are so bunched up right now, I'm not unhappy about it. Yes, and one thing we should mention before we kick on to the games is we do have, for those that aren't aware of it, we do have a league, a mini league, Yellow Flag FPL mini league. So please do give us a join on that one. I'll share the code afterwards. Currently, the person at the top is a chap called Jack Alexander with Little Uzi Wirtz. Interesting name. He's 126 points, but I believe we've had a few late entries coming in, notably one of my colleagues, who might supersede that. But 126 points is pretty decent, and we're currently about 40 people in the league, so please do join us. I'll share it after the... I'll share it in one of the socials. Where are you, Stephen? Am I going to have to keep scrolling?
Yeah, I'm not on the top, mate, but as I said, it's only a couple of game weeks. I haven't used a chip, unlike you, so, confidence is sky high, mate, sky high.
Sky high, brilliant. Well, I can see you're currently 28th, or joint 28th. I'm 9th, so I'm pretty happy about that. And Rita is 14th, we must not forget her, of course, with 63 points. Okay, so let's kick off some of the game weeks.
Yep.
Now, as the kit suggests, I'm going to talk about Tottenham. The performance. What a bloody performance. It was unbelievable. Thomas, the Frank engine, is up and running. Yes, he is. He is the disciple, the chosen one, the guy that we've been looking for. An honest, hard-working chap who just gets the team fired up and ready to go. But, beyond all these platitudes, I was watching this game in Dublin, just going absolutely mental. So here are my thoughts from FPL, and then I'll talk about how great Spurs were. So Haaland was dropping a lot deeper in this game than I thought, and I think that's a bit worrying for owners because he kind of was almost playing the Harry Kane role. So when he was at Spurs, he's coming close to the ball and then pinging it up to Mamouche and Cherki. Marmoush had a really good game. I thought he was unlucky not to score. I thought Vicario made a crazy good save about 30 minutes in, and that would have been a Haaland assist as well. Haaland could have scored. Obviously, he had that header that he couldn't go over the top of. But I'm a bit worried about Haaland, to be honest. I think our last pod was why did we ever doubt the robot? But in that game, Spurs shut him up and kept him shut up, to be honest.
Okay.
And the Spurs defenders really kept him locked down. So I think a lot of teams are going to look to do that again.
And how do they lock him down? It sounds like they just let him drop deep. How do they do that?
They let him drop deep, and then you had the midfield of Polino. Then we had Bentancur and Sarr, obviously, in their midfield, high energy, high tempo. So then they were negating all the space for the attacking mids and the creative players in City's squad. So then Haaland had to kind of come in and do that. And the only time he really got away with it and got away with the ball to try and create something is when he did manage to break through a few tackles. But that was quite rare. And it meant that the Spurs defenders and the midfielders were really close together. So that space just wasn't there. So he had to drop deep to collect the ball. He even committed a foul on the outskirts of his own box against Richarlison at one point. Why is he there? Like, that's crazy. He lost the ball. He does a lunge out. We get a free kick and Porro nearly scores from it. Look, maybe it's just Spurs locked him up and played really well. And I think there's a lot to say for that. And I wouldn't be selling him if I owned Haaland at all. No way. But I do think that means that other managers are going to be looking at that footage and going, okay, this is how we do it, right?
Just quickly from an FPL perspective, obviously I'd like to hear more about you who watched the game. In terms of who's going to start, I'm pretty confident that the team that Pep put out, even though there were some poor performances, is going to be their starting 11 for the rest of the season. Trafford might lose his place to Donnarumma if that comes in. Other than that, I think that's got to be their starting 11. So your best mate Oscar Bob comes into the equation, and Cherky is quite cheap as well. It was a bad day in the office for Man City, but they're gonna do better, and I think now we're relatively close to knowing who their starting 11 is. My question is for you: is this Spurs starting 11, i.e., is Richarlison locked down? Will Solanke ever be able to get his place back? Is Richarlison going to be in there until the foreseeable future?
I don't know is the honest answer. I think the thing about Richarlison, and Theo Walcott said this about, he said it would frustrate him so much because he could, create a chance out of nothing and play really well, and the other weeks walk around like he didn't really care. So I think the difficulty for Richarlison is if he gets, he misses a few chances, whatever, like how that tests his mental strength. If he's got the ability to really bounce back in those moments, and I do think Thomas Frank is at his core a really good people manager, right? He's a guy who puts the arm round when it's needed and the fire at the butt when it's needed also. So I think that will really, really suit Richarlison as a bloke and therefore as a player. I think it will suit all the team, in fact, and Solanke included in that. So I don't think Solanke's locked out of the team, but I don't think he's going to start in the next couple of weeks. The other thing to mention is Solanke is much more injury prone. I know Richarlison was out a bit, but Solanke was, when we signed him, the second week he got injured.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they'll rotate them. But my pick of the Spurs attackers would be Brendan Johnson, to be honest, because he's scored twice now. He's 7 million. I think he's a great alternative to the 7.5s or even like a Wirtz. Wirtz 8.5, what has he done? And then you could potentially upgrade another 6.5 to a Gakpo or somewhere like that. So I think there's some really interesting shouts there. If Donnarumma comes, Trafford's gone. He's worse than gone. He'd be third choice. But after that point, he should have been sent off. It was the most ridiculous performance I've seen in my life. He thumped Kudus in the chest with his knee, missed the ball, and took it and handled it outside the area. Yeah. It was 3 red cards.
They didn't check that. Yeah, it's bizarre they didn't. Yeah. I mean, look, it obviously didn't impact it. I mean, I even saw today that apparently there's rumours of he's going out on loan somewhere. Even though he's just been bought already for the season, which is anyway insane. But either way, yes, I think obviously, even if he had a world in that game and Donnarumma comes in, he's going to start. So.
Exactly. Oscar Bob, 5.5. You mentioned him. He played pretty good. Do you know it actually took them until the 76th minute to have their first shot on target, Man City? That was Doku, actually. He came off the bench. Look, they've got Brighton up next. Brighton away, which we all know is not an easy fixture. You'd expect them to go there and win, but you never know, right? Brighton can pull out some crazy good performances. What do we say about City? I would say I'm not as confident as you about the selection. I think if you have, you're holding. I don't think you're buying. I'm quite regretting my decision to buy Reindeers, to be honest. I mean, Milan was a bad decision to have him in the first place, but I could have gone somewhere else. And he will fall in price as quickly as he rose. I'm now thinking I should have gone for someone like Papsar.
Well, can I just say, Papsar hasn't done anything yet. I think he may have got a clean sheet point for the Burnley game. But yeah, I'm with you. I can sense the haul coming. Can sense it coming.
Yeah,
I mean,
he got
look,
6 points against Burnley. He got 3 points against City.
Sorry, he also got 2 clean sheet points. So,
He got 9 Defcons against
look,
City,
again,
so he was close.
Yeah, look, I said, like you, I can feel the haul coming. I'm with you though. I think this is a bit of a broader point. I think we are moving towards where you're going to have a lot more premiums, basically. I think Haaland, Salah drafts are going to start, teams are going to start becoming more common, so you do need some enablers. Sarr is one. Reinders is another one. I can't see either
Anderson,
of them losing their play. Yeah, I just mean from Man City, Tottenham, but like I think that's 2 people around the cheap area. Yeah. Oscar Bob maybe as well. I'm with you on Haaland. That's why I picked him in the first place. He just scores. He just does. He obviously he missed a big chance, but as they say, he's getting in there. So
I'd be worried if he wasn't getting the chances. That's the thing.
Yeah, and also just having him at the start, he's now very hard to build into your team. Like how you have to really move the pieces around. So, but yeah, no, look, good result for Spurs. They have a pretty good run up coming. They got Bournemouth at home next, which isn't ideal, but then they have one of the promoted teams, I think. But either way, they've got a good run, Spurs. So yeah, Spurs assets. Get them while you can.
I got West Ham. West Ham away.
There you go. really feel your boots for that one.
And then Kudus and Paqueta are going to absolutely tear them apart. You can see it. It's written on the wall. It's brilliant. I can't wait for it. Anyway, so Stephen, I've waxed lyrical about Tottenham. They're second in the league. Let's go to first in the league. Will they be first at the end of the season? Arsenal leads 5-0, a thumping win. I presume you watched that one more intently.
I
tell
did.
us what are your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, just domination. I think that was Leeds accumulated 0 XG after minute 19 or something like that. Just absolute domination. And the one person I really want to talk about, obviously, from an SPL perspective, is Gyökeres. Yes, he missed that one shot at the beginning, but then he scored that really nice goal. Very good penalty, so he's definitely our penalty taker for the rest of the season. That I cannot see that being taken. Yeah, I mean, Saka's not the best penalty taker. Odegaard isn't. So why it wouldn't be him, I don't know. Obviously, with injuries in the team, he's locked in. He is expensive. He's got Liverpool next. I wouldn't necessarily say bring him in right now, but I mean, I'm actually relatively confident about starting him against Liverpool because I'm not going to talk too much about the Newcastle Liverpool game because, I mean, first of all, that was just a ridiculous game. In many ways. But just I guess one thing for Arsenal and Anfield next week is Slot has decided for some reason defending is irrelevant. I don't play defenders. I'm going to play all out attack. And if Newcastle got 10-man Newcastle got 2 against them with some pretty mediocre, not just defending but organisation. I mean, obviously, who cares? So that's what they want. Gyökeres is going to get chances there. One thing that does concern me is that he's obviously very on social media. He did the hair flip. I don't want my football players to be rattled by football Twitter. I don't think that's a good thing personally. He's going to get a big chance. He's going to get a big chance at Anfield. He just is. Whether he slots it or not, we'll see. I'm obviously hoping that he does. I'm actually reasonably confident that he does. And if he does that, I think he's gonna go on a run. A really good run. Other people to consider is that obviously Saka and Odegaard are out, so Eze is definitely going to be playing at Anfield. Whether he plays in the wing or central midfield, we're not sure. But either way, he'll get his opening game at Anfield pretty soon.
Yeah.
He's 7.5 in the game,
which I think might suit him. That might suit Gyökeres better, having that 10 behind them rather than attacking wingers who want to cut in.
Yeah. Exactly. And the only downside I think from FPL is, I said before ball was kicked, I would love to know who Arsenal's starting fullbacks are, because I'd have one of them in my team, and you see why now. Anyway, wasn't to be. As I played it safe, I went for Gabriel. To be fair, I probably would have gone for Lewis Skelly or Ben Whiting. It would have been even more painful. So, I think after the Liverpool game, get in one of Timber or Calafiori. Basically, they're expensive, but clearly worth it. Timber would be the more.
What would you do if you're a Gabriel owner like me? Do you do the sideways move or do you go
don't see
double?
I don't see why you can't double up. Because, as I said, Saka's injured now, Odegaard's injured, the rest of the Arsenal midfield are all rotation risks. Unless Eze really goes on a run, basically the defensive players are just better to own, I would say. They're more. I think the back four is now. I think now is a bit more consistent by a few games. I don't see any issue in having a double Arsenal defence. Arsenal are probably going to have the best clean sheet. I said this before a ball's kicked. They're going to have the best clean sheet record. So I don't see any issue in having that. I think just having one of Gabriel Saliba is a good insurance policy, though. I do think the fullbacks will get some rotation, but I think two Arsenal defenders and a Gokeres. I don't think that blocks you up too much. I wouldn't be too disheartened about not having Saka, not having Raya, for example. I think that's more than fine.
Yeah. So I'm actually thinking I'm still waiting on Gokeres, but I have Watkins in my team, who's currently done bugger all, which we'll get onto. So that swap is very, very tempting. And if he does score at Anfield, I think he's going to be in a lot of teams. I was going to ask you, obviously Timber's gone and scored 2 goals, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to be talk of the town. The second goal was real trash, right?
It was.
Real trash.
It was.
That was a scramble. If you had a choice between him and Calafiore, who are you going for?
The reason why I'd go for Timber is that I think Calafiore at Anfield, for example, is going to be the one that's going to sit. He seems to be doing a bit of a Vermont where he just is told to defend and just bombs forward anyway with that hair flicking back, and it looks magnificent. But when Salah runs in behind him, he's probably going to be in a bit of trouble. I think at some point he is going to be sort of shackled by Arteta and saying like, look, we're a back 3. And Timber, I believe, out of the 2 of them would be the one asked to go forward more. I would say that's why I said Timber, but definitely one to watch. Timber has played a right centre back role for us. It's not unfeasible. Ben White comes back into the team, so one to watch. But for now, Timber, I would say, is the full back destined to go forward over Calafiore.
Yeah, and there obviously was another team on the pitch lead, so that didn't seem to appear to be so. They nearly scored in the first couple of minutes. Raya made an amazing save, I did notice. What did you reckon to Leeds? Is there anything interesting there? Is there any assets to be looking at?
Again, they're not going to be judged on that game. I think the more interesting game was the one last week where they beat Everton 1-0 at home. So you could also just see the players just knew we are meant to lose this game. We're not going to stay up based on this result. So no, I don't think you can read too much into Leeds. Other than their goalkeeper was terrible, which I mean maybe is a bit of bias in me. Maybe Darlow might come back into the team. I think that's more of a hope from my side.
Well, seeing as they lost the penalty shootout against Sheffield Wednesday, I think is unlikely. Aston Villa. Let's talk about that game.
Dear me, Villa.
Stephen, do you owe Kelleher a bit of an apology because he got the clean sheet, 5 points?
What Villa doing? Like, they got battered by Newcastle. Now, Newcastle are a good team, but fundamentally they're at home. They did, for the looks of things, they didn't even lay a glove on Brentford. Like, what is going on there? The Brentford goal should have been defended. Martinez. Oh, Martinez is in my fantasy team. That was unbelievable. What are they doing?
Yeah. Well, Brentford did have a second goal that was ruled off because Martinez can't catch a ball, and I think that was really unfair. I think that should have been a goal. I mean, the thing about I was going to ask about Kelleher, right? So he obviously doesn't get the assist, but he did set up the attack for the first goal. Dango got a bit lucky with the deflection back onto it, but I agree with you. Brentford were the better team by a long way, and it did seem like, I think the manager said after the game, that was a horrible watch, but I wanted it to be so, and I loved the fact it was. That's what Brentford are going to be. They're going to be horrible to play against. They're going to make things really difficult. Their home form is pretty good. I mean, it wasn't that stat that the most amount of goals scored in any of the top 5 leagues in Europe was at Brentford, right? So it's an entertaining place to be. And I think, obviously, we can think about landmark results, that 4-0 against United, and then when they first came up, beating Arsenal 2-0 and things like that. So they've got big results in them, and they've got real heart as a team. So Brentford are not ones to write off at all this season. I know you think differently, but I think that was a real statement win against Villa. And I don't know what's happening with Villa, whether it's a PSR, whether they need to freshen it up.
I just think a very, very damning stat. So 17 shots, 2 on target, but with an XG of 1.2. However, Kelleher, my best mate, was had an expected save of 0.13. So, by the way, whole XG he didn't face. By the way, just whatever. So I'm merely highlighting that Villa were very bad. Like Villa clearly were just. I mean, there's not other races, and there's that. I think that's a lot of people liked Villa's early run, and I was one of them. I was terrified about not having Watkins. But no, I mean, my plan was to swap because of the Liverpool game, was to bring Watkins in for Gokeres. I'm not doing that now. They've
I
got
wouldn't do that
Palace
at all.
next, who are just an annoying team to play. I mean, right now you probably back Palace to win that. No, Villa, they really are not looking good.
Yeah, so a question for you then. I have Watkins. I think there's a few people out there who have Rodgers. Maybe they'll have both. Some people have three. They have Conser, Watkins, and Rodgers in the team. What would you be giving them advice to? Because they've still got a pretty good run. You know, they've got Palace next, then they've got Everton away, Sunderland at home. It's not a bad run. I mean, so just talking about Watkins in particular, his XG per 90 is 0.21. His XA per 90 is 0.07. Rodgers is 0.05 and 0.08. I mean, that's really bad. Would you be selling? Would you be holding it?
Yeah, I mean,
what do you do as an owner? What do you do?
The thing is, I'm looking at their next two fixtures. I don't like Palace at home. Palace are a very good team. I don't like Everton,
and they've
away
won there
that
before.
much. Yeah. And Watkins is expensive. Rodgers is, he's a fair chunk of money,
7.
to be frank. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on how many transfers you have, but like you can get in Chelsea players who have a much better run in than they do. Again, it looks like we know what their starting 11 is now. Yeah, I'm sorry, but not like being that bad. Again, I know you're Mr. Brentford, but like being that bad there, that is very, very worrying. Emre is also just playing 8 DMs. Why McGinn is on the wing, I really don't. I know he did that last season, but it hasn't.
Yeah,
like,
bizarre.
Why?
Bizarre.
I don't really know what's going on.
It's just their creativity. The creativity doesn't seem to be there at all.
No.
You know, they've got Buendia sitting on the bench, who is quite a good player, and they just don't start him, and I don't get it. I don't understand. What's changed from last season? I don't see a crazy change. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is they know they're not going to get Champions League. They're going to be they're in Europe. Just they're not going to get relegated. Is it a case of that?
So you think they got their flip flops on already?
I mean, potentially. Why not? Like, is their most?
So before we move on, I'm going to ask you a question because it's quite an interesting answer. What do you think? Who do you think is their top scorer on FPL?
Matty Cash.
Don't look it up.
That was a guess. Matty Cash.
Matty.
Yeah.
It is Matty Cash. 10 points. Martinez is second with 9. Yeah, so it's a weird stat. I saw that there, but if you had the cash, you probably would nowadays go from Rodgers to Semenyo. I'm waiting for one more week, but if Watkins doesn't score one more week, I think I'm going to go to Gokeres, as much as it pains me to say it. But then I've got Palmer as well. He's injured at the moment, so I could do Palmer to Semenyo this week, couldn't I? Really?
Rodgers to Semenyo. You said it. It sounds right. It just sounds right.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So what's the next game that you want to talk about then, Stephen? What's caught your eye?
It's actually your man Semenyo and Bournemouth. Bournemouth against Wolves. I think just headline is Bournemouth are good, basically. And everyone's just like they've lost their back four, and but they've kept their manager. We saw what they did against Liverpool, and Wolves aren't that bad of a team. Bournemouth had good chances. They play attacking football. They've got interesting players. I'm not Evan Nielsen's biggest fan personally, but your best mate as well, Traffert, did well. I just think they're a good team. They're gonna get lots of good results. They're gonna finish top half. Their players aren't too expensive, especially people like Scott and Brooks. If you can't afford a Semenyo, what's not to like? I actually Traffert in particular. You're right. He is very good. He's a really interesting player.
Well, we have to eat some humble pie, Stephen, because when we were talking about the transfers coming in, we said, "Who the hell is this Truffle guy?" Although Rita started calling him Truffle, Mr. Truffle, because she loves truffle. But no, I think Evan Nielsen should have scored in that game, but he got hacked down by Totti behind him. Like, he would have scored. He was through on goal, and then it's the sort of situation where you're kind of like going, "Well, what a great bench boost." For me, but I'm going to keep him. I really like Semenyo. Wolves, I think they're really in trouble. They're in real state. So apparently the rumour is that Newcastle are trying to buy Strand Larsen. If they get Strand Larsen, they're done. They're gone. They're over. Finished. Who have they got?
Yeah.
Who have they got?
Well, they sold Silver. Or we're about to sell Silver. I actually looked this up the other day. I can't remember what I looked up the other day. I think they have like 5 strikers in FPL or something like that. And their players. Fabio Silva, obviously, you've forgotten about. Arias, is he like a new one he's just signed? I think he's technically a forward on the game.
5.5, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he might go up there.
Yeah, Strand Larsen, Fabio Silva, Kaladic.
Oh, yeah, Kaladic, yeah.
And then someone who's gone out on loan, I presume. But Strand Larsen, like, he did nearly score in that game. But if they sell him to Newcastle, that's got to be desperate times, surely. There's no way they can survive. But just quickly on
in an era where we're thinking that the 3 promoted clubs have got a decent chance, it's risky, but I don't think they're that bad. I'm not saying they're going to finish top half, but they actually have a very nice run coming up. They've got Everton at home, Newcastle away, not great, but then Leeds at home, Tottenham away, Brighton at home, Sunderland, Burnley. They've got a decent 6-7 runs coming up. I mean, players to target might be Strand Larsen, given his price. Hoover, who's a $4 million on the game.
Having said all of that, in my rogue option is a Wolves player, but we'll come on to that later. But Semenyo, actually, he could have hauled in this game. He got the assist, but he had 2 really good opportunities to score as well. So it's worth mentioning that this could have been... he could have got like 15, 16 points in this game. 7.2. Why do you think he is so cheap? Because that seems chronically low. Or is it just the fact it's Bournemouth or what?
Yeah, literally that. Just he plays for a mid-table team. Think it is that simple. Is there anyone? I mean, I guess Watkins at Villa. I mean, they're not mid-table, but I mean, Nottingham Forest players. Gibbs White is 7.5, I think. Like, no, unless you're one of the big 6 / Villa. Yeah, they don't. FPL have chosen not to price them very high.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else from that game? Or should we move on to the next?
No. Just Bournemouth are good. I think they're going to get a lot more points than you think. I'd actually be a bit worried, and I'm a bit worried I don't have a Bournemouth player. That will change in the not too distant future.
Well, I've got two, so I'm thinking about the triple up. But they have got my boys away next, so maybe I'll wait until after that game. But cool. Now we're going to talk about Fulham Man United, which no doubt is going to create a lot of chat between us two. So I actually watched this game in full.
Still 2-0 Grimsby, by the way. 5 minutes into the second half.
Fantastic work. So look, Cunha nearly scored 3 or 4 times. It looks like Cunha hasn't really missed a step in terms of his runs and getting into the right positions to try and score. I think it's just about gelling between the front 3. Really surprised that Sesko didn't start. Mount was impressive, but he's not a centre forward. So why aren't you starting with Sesko? I think we need to see those 3 start together. Really liked the positions Doggy was getting into. 4.5 million, 8.5% owned. I think he's definitely interesting for a wild card if you're on that. And Mbeumo played really well. Would have got the assist had it not gone down as an Oggy. And also Maguire should have scored towards the end, so there would have been another one. He's on corners as well, so I think that's really interesting. Goals are coming for them. Is what I wrote down when I was watching the game. I'm quite positive about United.
And yet, Barry, I've honestly started this podcast watching a pretty much full strength Man U team toil against Grimsby. No, the goals are not coming. I'm sorry.
The goals are coming, Stephen. Let me give it to you. The goals are coming because they are doing all of the right things. The problem that they have, and this is something I've concluded, is the manager. The manager, I don't think, can get the best out of these players, is what I think. I think the bare bones of a really strong team is there. It's just the fact that the manager doesn't know how to use them. So if I was owning a Man United player, I wouldn't be selling. I'm actually tempted to go from Palmer to Cunha, to be honest. It just looks like they could go actually explode over the next couple of game weeks. The last game, Cunha had an XG of about 0.78, which is really high to not score.
But he didn't.
I guess the question for... Yes, I know. And we can talk about Bruno's pen and all the rest of it. But my question to you, though, Stephen, is if you had an £8 million slot and you were to buy and you were thinking about Mbeumo or Cunha, who would you go for? Gun to your head. You can't go and buy someone else. You have to choose.
Why? Why do I have to buy one of those two? No.
Because I've just given you that choice.
No, I'm sorry. Matt. Man U are just not good. They lulled me into false sense of security, but just turns out Arsenal were just getting warmed up and were just very, very bad. They're just not good. Again, I think we forget this. Why did they get Mbemba and Cunha? They were the best that they could get. No one else wanted them, unfortunately. I don't think they're terrible players. I agree with you there, but I said at the start of the season, before Balls kick, sorry, they're going into that game against home at Burnley. Now, I didn't even think about the League Cup.
You did say this.
The pressure. Oh my God. This game has now become one of the worst games they could have, basically. This is West Ham going to the Stadium of Light on game week 1. This is a horrible game for them. And I'm not even considering bringing a Man U player in. I'm very, very happy not having any of them. I've seen quite a few free hits. So they've got triple Man U against Burnley.
Yeah.
I'm not that worried. I'm really not that worried.
So what would you do if you owned a Man United player? What would you do?
No.
Let's say you owned
anyone.
Or Bruno.
I mean, why people still have Bruno is unbelievable. I mean, yeah, you can say he's unlucky that he missed the penalty, but like again, he didn't do anything else in that game. Penalties aren't that common. Like, no, just no. I don't really know how else to say this, Barry. No. Okay, they're sort of creating like good half chances, so they get some nice XG, and if you have a lot of them, it builds up. But actually, they're not tap-ins or anything like that. They're doing some nice speculative shots from outside the box. I sort of agree with you that they haven't gelled, or they're not going to gel, or the system's wrong because they haven't got a number 9, or not playing a number 9 anyway. So yeah, while it looks pretty and the stats may say, oh, look at all the chances they're getting, against Arsenal, their XG was quite high, I think, but there was only really one big save that Raya had to make, and that again was sort of from a really tight angle, basically. So it was actually just a very good shot in the end. So no, Burnley have obviously just won against Sunderland. Good result for them. They played pretty well. They're not going to go to Old Trafford and attack. They're going to sit back. 10 minutes 0-0. 20 minutes 0-0. The noise in Old Trafford builds and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds, and it's not going to build positively.
And then Josh Cullen bangs in one from 30 yards. Brilliant. Well, you did say this, to your credit. You did say at the beginning of the season they're going to have 2 difficult games. It's going to get to the Burnley game, lots of pressure, and especially with this Grimsby result, it's going to get even worse. And I cast my mind back to that 2-2, if you remember, the last time Burnley came up, where Ashley Barnes scored a goal, and there was a free kick, I think they scored as well. Yeah, which was a cracking game. And I remember that game because it was high pressure for United. Oh, they should walk over Burnley, and then they didn't. So yeah, I hate to say this, Stephen, but you think you could be right about that game. I do think that the results are coming for United. I do think goals are coming for United. I'm much more positive than you are. But as we exposed last week, you have a chronic bias towards United.
And
but,
so far,
that's fine.
It's only bias if it's wrong. So far, it's just stone cold fact. Bruno Fernandes, was he on for 2 weeks? 1 point, I think, because of the penalty miss. So far, I'm correct.
So far, you're correct. Okay, so let's talk about the other team that are on the pitch. I did flag this over on the Instagram account. Josh King. You may remember Josh King. He was at Bournemouth, I think, before. He is an attacking midfielder. He is playing in a pretty attractive Fulham team, I'd say. Fulham are pretty attacking players. He's 4.5 million, 1.2% owned. Why is no one talking about it?
Because he was terrible in that game. I'm looking at the team that Fulham are playing tonight. He isn't playing, which is actually quite encouraging. It looks pretty much like their entire second 11. So yeah, he probably will get another go. But he didn't play very well. I do remember him at Bournemouth being decent. It looks like my shout of Harry Wilson has lost out to Josh King. If Josh King is the 5 million starter for Fulham, that is interesting.
Well, but I think he actually made quite a lot of really good runs into the box, and looked like a real threat. He had a couple of shots. He had a 1-on-1. Yoro made an incredible tackle to stop him from going through. I think he's really, really worth a punt if you were on wildcard and needed a cheap midfielder to sit there, I don't think he's competing against Harry Wilson. I think he's competing more against ESR. To be honest,
definitely.
who then unfortunately came on and scored. But that's the run that King would have made. So I think he's just a bit unlucky that he didn't get that result. Other thing that I noticed, and I agree with you, I don't know why Harry Wilson isn't playing. Maybe it was just against United because they wanted to have something a bit more structured. But Anthony Robinson was started on the bench as well. And I don't get that because he was their star player last year. He's their captain. Yeah, he came on. He came on for Timothy Castagne at 70. Again, it may have just been for that game because they wanted something that was structurally rigid and defensive and such. So I think for in general, for FPL, I'm not really sure what to make about Fulham because it seems to me like they can change all their players quite regularly. I think if you had a Fulham player, you're probably not selling. But I wouldn't be investing either, unless I was on wildcard. If I was on wildcard, I would be looking at Josh King and I'd be looking at Iwobi, maybe.
Iwobi.
But outside of that,
no, but his output is just not consistent enough, unfortunately.
Well, he got the assist. He got the assist the weekend.
Yeah,
he scored a nice goal as well.
I can't bother looking it up, but his goals and assist record over the last couple of seasons per game is poor.
Going back to Josh King, so his XG per 90 is currently 0.43, which is pretty good for a 4.5. His XA is terrible, but shots per 90 is at least 2, and his key passes per 90 at 0.6. He's clearly just got one thing in mind, and that's score lots of goals, which we like to see. So yeah, I like Josh King. I think he'd be worth a shout if you're on wildcard, is what I'd say.
Yeah, I just checked. He started both games as the cam, so. Yeah, interesting. And ESR has, ESR has scored goals and never made it into the team. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what he does behind the scenes because every time he comes onto the pitch, he looks amazing, and then he doesn't get played. It's a bit like Hudson-Odoi before he went to Nottingham Forest. Like would come on, look amazing, and managers would just not play him. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if he trains well.
So
I have no idea, but something going on.
So Bruno Fernandes and Brian Mbeumo have come off the bench. Against Grimsby. So
I like that Amarim.
Pretty
he
much
knows
now.
he needs to hit these confident, shy players who haven't scored yet. Get them on against Grimsby. Get them some easy goals, maybe, or make them more breath of confidence than they already are. Let's see.
Yeah. And currently, SofaScore is rating Onana 5.5.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm being unfair on Man U because obviously that's my prerogative. But yes, the 2 Grimsby goals were very avoidable. A different.
Fantastic.
I mean, not a different keeper. I mean, not a keeper that Man U have. Bayende would also have let them in, but yes, an average probably would have kept them out.
Do we want to quickly touch on Liverpool-Newcastle? I know you said you didn't want to really touch on it too much, but a bit of a mad game. Yeah, youngest ever goal scorer comes off the bench and scores in the 100th minute. Salah gets an assist. Gakpo with 2. Asike scores again. Look, I'm a Salah owner. Didn't captain him. Not really going to move away. But if you're on wildcard, I think Wirtz is out of the equation. Really, who would you be prioritising?
Wirtz is gone from my team. He's getting one more game next week purely because I might. You know what? That'll lead into my top, middle, and bottom because my top it's a very boring choice, but it's Ekitike. The only reason why I'm holding up a little bit longer is because I don't want to use a -4 because I need to get rid of Wirtz. I need to get rid of my third choice striker as well. And there's still a chance that Isak goes there. But if he doesn't, it's just get him in. He's Liverpool's striker.
Yeah.
They play attacking football, really attacking football. I don't know. There's really not much more analysis to say there other than he's the striker in the most attacking team in the league. Get him in. My other interesting one on the rogue side is Zasula, who is their only other striker now that Gordon... I mean, I know Gordon isn't actually a striker, but playing false 9 hasn't worked. He obviously got the goal. I would think he's going to get the run for the next few games, and Newcastle's next few games are pretty tasty from memory. Leeds and Wolves the next 2 games. So it's he has to go in the bro category because it's a risk whether he'll start.
Yeah, that would...
But if he does, goals will come.
Yeah. So do you think that maybe it's worth waiting till the end of the window before you make that decision?
Yeah, that's another reason why as well, because who knows who's going to come in. So something crazy might happen. So I'm not doing any transfers this week, although my team is looking a bit ropey. I've got...
No transfers.
Yeah, I mean, the Palmer injury is a big problem. Um, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm looking at starting Esteve or Gabriel. Like, really don't. I mean, actually, I probably have to back myself over Esteve and Burnley, don't I, against Man U? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, it's getting to the point now where I'm considering selling Esteve over Verts. That's how bad Verts has been. That is how shocking he has been. Where's the £120 million flop sign? Scoceres has one little bad game. And it's like, oh, it's the hair flick show. Where's Verte? Sorry, the most expensive transfer record so far of the season. Where is all the 007 chat around him? Come on, guys, let's get with the program here. Let's have some consistency. And
I think it's because Arsenal fans bite like a Noah and the bloody whale.
clearly,
So anyway, but we've got your good, which is Ekatike, your rogue, which is Asula of Newcastle, and your middling, Stephen. Who have you gone for?
Dalap. So
Interesting.
I think Maresca has worked out they need a number 9. So I don't think that he loses his place when Palmer comes back. I think it's probably Estevo or Neto. Probably Estival, sorry. I think they are going to play with a number 9 now. He didn't have the best game. I don't think he got a return in the 5 against West Ham is a bit concerning. But then again, it's his first game. He looked good at Ipswich. I'm relatively certain he's going to be the start. He's going to be their starting 11. Chelsea have a very nice run. Bit of a risk. That's why he's going to the middling category. But yeah, Chelsea have a good run. I think he's going to start, and the goals will come with him.
Interesting. Yeah, I could talk a bit about my team, but I'm waiting for Palmer news. That's going to determine what I do with my transfers. If he's going to play, then I'm going to keep him. But I've got Evan Nilsson who'll come off the bench if he doesn't play, so I'm not out unhappy about it. Although Tottenham have been good, Bournemouth will get chances, as we said, they're quite good. So, but yeah, that leads me quite nicely onto my good middle rogue. So my good top rated, I think, is Semenyo. 7.2 is looking like chronically underpriced. 21.2% owned, 21 points in the first 2 weeks. He is the guy for Bournemouth. Could have scored twice at the weekend, but only got the assist. I think he's a no-brainer, particularly if you've got someone that's disappointing you in the midfield, sort of high-end category of 7.5 and such. My middling is Jack Grealish.
Yes,
6.5.
Love it.
Like he's about, I think he's 5.3% owned. So the only problem I see with Grealish, right, is outside of he's a confidence player, and if his confidence gets knocked, he could go back to the same position, is that Njai is on pens, and he's 6.5. So if I wanted a 6.5 Everton player, I probably would go for Njai. Having said that, he got 11 points at the weekend, right? And Njai got 9, I think, or 10. But I think the reason why I put him middling is just because I think Njai being on penalties does detract from Grealish's value. Grealish looked good. So Grealish is my middling. Shout out to Rob James for putting him in your team from the start. And then my rogue shout, as promised, a Wolves player, a defender, Stephen.
Okay.
Emmanuel Agbadou.
Okay.
Right? And I've probably got that pronunciation wrong, which means that Jake and Striker are going to be having a drink. Apparently they created a drinking game for me mispronouncing names, which is good. He's a Wolves centre-back, 4.5 million, 0.4% owned. He got 14 DEFCONs in the Bournemouth game. He got 4 points.
Interesting.
So, which essentially adds to an assist, right? He's rogue because Wolves will be in a relegation battle, and he's unlikely to score goals. But he was actually also in SofaScore's top team of the week this week. He was rated like 8.2. Like he made crazy amount of clearances and blocks and defense. So he's a real flying under the radar. So if you've got a 4.5 slot, he's worth looking at. And as you said, they've got a good run.
Yeah. Okay, fine. No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sold. I mean, I personally would just go for the Hoover guy just because he's a wing back and cheaper. But yeah, with 14 DEFCONs, that's pretty strong. He should be getting that. If he's doing that,
impressive.
If he's doing that one game, you'd think he's going to get a lot of that. Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah. Good to hear. In terms of my transfers, as I said, mine's all determined about Palmer, what Palmer Fitness is saying. You're going to hold?
Hold.
You sure you're going to hold? No rogue transfers?
Pretty sure I'm going to hold.
Pretty sure. Cool. Well, we'll share our teams as the deadline comes up towards the end of the week, which is not on a Friday this week, thank Christ, because I nearly missed it this week whilst I was drinking Guinness in Dublin. But we will do another podcast after the game week 3. And then we'll move into the international break where we'll do a little podcast about our chip strategy, how that's evolving. Obviously, I've used one chip. Stephen is chipless in terms of usage. So, yes, Stephen, anything else to add before we wrap up for this week?
Just keep your eyes on that Man U Burnley game. I've got a bet on who's the first manager to get sacked this season. It's Potter. But he's been ran very close by Nuno, which I even said he'd fall up anyway.
Yeah,
and Amarim is also giving a good run for his money. But yeah, I think. Obviously Anfield's it's another interesting game potentially, but yeah, I think.
But if I'm going to push you right now, Man United Burnley, give me a score prediction. Put your balls on the line.
1-1.
1-1. So 1-1. Okay, and on that fantastic note, the noose to be hung, the clip that will be on the Instagram. Please do give us a like and a follow on those. We've been getting a lot of attention on there. Really appreciate it. Please keep coming in with that. And of course, thank you to our wonderful Rita, who has also been helping us with the publishing and all the rest of it. And we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.